I went to Japan for free for 6 days and it was such an incredible experience. I went to a program called AYFN Academy. In this video, I'm going to tell you guys how I applied to the program, what I put in my application, and how you can do the same for you to be able to travel to different trips as well. Hey y'all, if you're new here, my name is Beamy Queen. I am a full-time travel content creator based in LA, and I show you travel hacking, I show you vlogs, and I show you my experiences traveling all over the world. So I did post a video on TikTok and Instagram that went super viral. People were wondering how was I able to do this. So in this video, I'm gonna go over what the experience with AYFN was like for me. I'm gonna talk about different questions that I got on that post, both positive and negative, and then I'm also going to talk about what I wrote in my application that was an award-winning application to give me that scholarship. Pay attention to all the details I give you in this video because I do not mentor students personally, so everything you're going to get is going to be from this video or any other videos I've posted already about the program. First and foremost, I did already post the vlogs of the AYFN Academy trip. So the trip started in Osaka and it was 6 days long. So because I was flying in from LA, I had to fly into Tokyo first, so I did have a layover and I had a half-night layover in Tokyo, which basically meant that everything that I did in Tokyo was funded by me, so that was not funded by the program. I was awarded a fully funded scholarship, which meant they covered $700 of my flight. My flight was literally $700, so that was it. They also covered the hotel stay as well as the food, and anything that I purchased on my own was my travel in Tokyo, any additional food that I bought, as well as additional shopping, which I did a lot of shopping on that trip, so you guys can see that in the vlogs already. This program is for folks that are aged 18 to 35. There is not any leeway in that age range, so if you do not fit that age range, you're not applicable. The program is applicable to anyone all over the world, so if you do have to pay for a visa, that is going to be at your own cost, and then if you have to pay for luggage fees, that's also going to be at your own cost. I didn't have to buy a visa because I have a US passport. I did pack more luggage, so with my flight I got free checked luggage, so I didn't end up having to pay for luggage either, so it was completely totally free for me. The purpose of the program is to connect people from different backgrounds and cultures and countries with each other and just foster a community of people from different backgrounds. That is literally the entire gist of it. So during my program there were participants that were from Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Russia, Uzbekistan, and me from the US. So I was the only US participant for the 2024 winter Japan trip. They do go to other locations. So some other locations are Seoul, South Korea, Bali, Indonesia, and they're also opening a new destination later on this year for New Zealand. So those are different programs you can look out for, but they do require the same application process, which I'm going to go over in this video. So as far as the program goes, you do have a roommate for your program. This isn't something that you can like make up and change. The itinerary for the program is already set, so if you don't like what's on the itinerary, then this is not the program for you. Also, it does not allow you to bring other people with you. It is just for you and you only, so this isn't something that you can invite your friend and you guys can go explore and do stuff on your own. It is really to immerse you and the other participants in the culture of that country and get to experience what it's like to be a local there, and also to be able to visit the different memorials, museums, and anything that's related to the culture. So I like this program a lot because it allowed me to do things I typically wouldn't do. So whenever I do travel to a new place, I like to be in the city. I like to experience the city life, if you will. And Osaka was a major city in Japan. However, it's not like Tokyo. So it was a really great experience for me and I really did enjoy it. And I also really liked my roommate. So the roommates were assigned, and they assign your roommates based on like the personality that you show in your application video. So I think it worked out really well. I love meeting new people, and also having roommates is fine for me because I don't mind it at all. But if that's something that you do not like, then this is not going to be for you. For this program, the dates are already set ahead of time. So I applied for the winter scholarship, and that is one of the application seasons that have a less amount of applications because a lot of people are in school. You don't have to be in school to win the scholarship. You can just be an adult. About half of our group were students and the other half were not, so you don't have to be a student. But typically the highest application period is during the summer because a lot of people are out of school. Like I said, I did the winter Japan session. There are spring sessions and summer sessions. So for the winter application period, I did have to apply in November, and then I didn't receive an email until mid-December that I was accepted for it. So they do respond to you whether or not you get accepted. And they also post the winners on their Instagram and also on their website, so you will know whether or not you've been accepted. I would not recommend that you repeatedly email the person to know if you've been accepted or not. Just wait to hear a response and you will know. As long as you follow all of the instructions on the application website, then you will receive a confirmation email that your application was complete, and then also not you received the scholarship in the end. All right, so now we're gonna get into the application process and what I put on my application. I will say the application has changed since I applied, so I'm gonna tell you guys what I wrote on mine and how it's a little bit different from what is online today. Right now they do have different rankings that you can apply for. So there's silver, gold, and platinum. When I was applying, they didn't have these rankings, so I'm not totally sure how they work, but it seems like the silver is most similar to what I did when I had to apply. And that is, you pay the fee of about $10 for the application, and you pay that through PayPal. And then after you submit your PayPal payment, you either get a screenshot or a PDF of you submitting that payment, and you attach it on the website along with this Google Doc. So I'm gonna go through the Google Doc with you. Application starts out with your email, and you have to confirm your email address and make sure you write it correctly. And you have to submit an attachment of you making the payment through PayPal. They do not accept payments outside of PayPal, so if you don't have a PayPal, then you need to create one. You have to write your name as shown on the passport. So you do have to have a valid passport, and valid passport means it is going to be active 6 months after the end of the trip date. So if your passport expires within 6 months of the end of the trip, then your passport is not valid. So you have to have a valid passport. If you do not have one, you need to take care of that first and foremost. They do not pay for any passport fees or any passport issues, so I recommend that you do that first before you even submit your application. And then you also put in your country. So they try to get applicants from different countries, and there's always a mix based on who applies for the season. But talking to the leader of the program, he really does look for a different variety of countries. So you can be in any country to apply as long as you have that passport again. You have to put in your phone number that is connected to WhatsApp, so that's the main communication. And they're also gonna write your address, so that's super easy. Okay, so now you get to the CV. So your curriculum vitae is essentially a resume, but it's a very detailed and longer version of your resume. So if you're in school, this is super easy. You can just really connect it over. If you are in like a 9-to-5 job, or like if you work in the field, you can submit your resume, but it's even more beneficial for you to submit your CV. And your CV will include any type of leadership opportunities that you've participated in, any type of volunteer services that you've done, in addition to any of your jobs, any of your additional projects outside of your job. So it really encompasses everything that you have done, both professionally and recreationally. So even if you participate in, like, let's say if you organize the softball league for your town, that is something that would be on your CV, but it wouldn't necessarily be on your resume. So when you are submitting your CV, make sure that it's formatted properly, that there aren't any misspellings, and the most important things generally come up at the top. But it's definitely important that you include those volunteer services or any type of mentoring that you've done, or any other leadership opportunities that you participate in. Definitely include that on your CV. I generally keep the CV to about 3 pages, so I will remove things. There is a limit that you can upload on here, so just make sure your CV is uploaded properly and fits the limit. And then we get into the questions. So these are the questions that I would recommend you spend most of your time on. I will also recommend that you write them like on like a Word doc or on a separate file and not on the Google file. That way you can save it for later and come back to it. But the first one is, why do you need this scholarship? So you can really talk about anything for the scholarship opportunity. I talked about it on my application. I said that I was recently an engineer and I just left my job to be a full-time content creator. I think this would be a really great opportunity for me to showcase like exploring a new country, because I had never been to Japan before. So I also wrote this part that I needed the scholarship because I had just moved across the country from New Jersey to LA, and I was working for myself, and it would be really nice to have funds to be able to travel, to be able to continue my job and start my new career as a content creator. So if you are a student, you can obviously talk about how you you may not have the funds to be able to travel on your own, but are really interested in travel. If you're not a student, you can talk about how you may, I don't know, live with your parents, or you may not have opportunities to travel for some other reason. Doesn't really matter, but you definitely need to talk about some type of financial reason as to why you would need the scholarship. So next, what are your long-term career aspirations? So here I really talked about how I was looking to be a creator full-time, and how it was going to take me time to build up my portfolio, if you will, of like places I've traveled and how my posts have performed and things of that nature. So your long-term career aspirations don't have to be related to travel, but they can be related to you may wanting to have some type of international connections, or I don't know, you can really talk about whatever you want here. Just make sure you give some detail of what you want to do with your careers. Obviously, it doesn't have to be set in stone because this is just a scholarship application, but really put some thought into it about what you want your long-term career aspirations to be. And I would say like 5 and 10 years down the line. So in my response, I did talk about 5 years versus 10 years. You can obviously go beyond if you want to, but just make sure you really like flesh out what you want to do with your own career. Next question is, would you describe yourself as a risk taker or more safety oriented, and why? So my answer for this question was that I'm definitely a risk taker, and I describe myself as such because I completely and totally changed career paths. So again, I was a biomedical engineer. I spent my entire life studying to be my biomedical engineer, and then right before I graduated, I decided that I was going to be a full-time content creator, which is completely and totally opposite. It's a creative field versus the technical field that I came from. So I think that really proves that I am a big risk taker. You can really talk about whatever you want here, but I would say when you answer the question, talk about why you think you are a risk taker, some type of like story or evidence that can attest to why you're either of those things. I don't think your answer really matters whether or not you're a risk taker or a safety oriented person. Just make sure you can explain why, because the leader likes to look for a mix of both risk takers and safety oriented people. So it doesn't matter which one you are, just make sure you can explain and give a story as to why you believe that you are one of those two. Next is, what skills do you possess that will make you a valuable asset to AYFN Academy? So this part you can really take and go with whatever you want. So I did hear some of other people's responses when I met the other attendees. So my personal response was that I would be able to showcase AYFN online and tell people about my experience, as well as show them through vlogs on my YouTube channel about what it's like to experience Japanese culture and to participate in a program like this. So I would really be able to promote their academy and to be able to continue on their program for years to come. So you do not have to be a content creator to apply to this program, but I did use content creation for my answer for this. From other attendees, I heard that they talked about how they wanted to share it with different clubs and organizations that they were part of or leaders of, that they also wanted to talk about it at their full-time jobs after they returned from the trip. So there are a ton of different skills that you can talk about with this question. Again, it doesn't have to be around content creation, just that mine was oriented around content creation because I would be able to then showcase AYFN to other people and be able to promote them for other people to be able to participate in the program. Next is, what makes you unique? I feel like you can answer this question any way possible. There are so many different ways to answer this question. For this question, I wrote that I have so many different interests. So I used to be an engineer, so I have a scientific background and I have an interest in science and in math, but I also really enjoy reading and I read a lot. And I talked about how on my YouTube channel, I talk about different books that are coming out and what I like about those books. And then I also talked about my journey as a content creator and how I really like photography and I really like videography, and that's what I do now for my full-time job. So I talked about how I just have such a wide array of interests and I try to find a way to incorporate it in my everyday life. But obviously you can talk about any single thing that you want. Anything you want, anything goes for this question. Just again, make sure you put in thought and make sure you take some time to think about each question and that each of your answers are very thorough because they look for thorough responses and not just like 1 or 2 sentences or fragments. You really have to go into detail with your responses. There isn't a word limit or a character limit with each one, but I would try to keep it to like 5 to 7 sentences for each answer. So next is, do you have any specific skills or qualifications that make you a good candidate for the scholarship? So this kind of ties into one of the earlier questions of what specific skills will make you a valuable asset to AYFN. So again, I just reiterated that because I'm a content creator, I will be able to promote this program and be able to showcase it to other people who may not know about it, but are looking for travel opportunities like this. And also want to be immersed in the culture as opposed to what we typically see online with like different lavish vacations. That this is an opportunity for people to really understand what it's like to be in Japanese culture. Again, you can talk about anything you want during this, but I would just make sure you tie it back to why you would be able to help this program and help AYFN Academy continue to grow and also sustain themselves for the next years to come. So next, do you speak any languages other than English? So I wrote here that I am learning French, which I am. So you guys have seen me speak French when I go to France. I've been a few times in the last year. I talked about how I wasn't fluent in French, but I did spend a lot of time studying French in high school. And I do visit France often so that I can still practice my French and try to learn more. So if you don't know their language, I would say tell them what types of languages you're interested in learning, or what has hindered you from learning any other languages, or how you may go about learning a new language in the future. So those are some things that you can talk about other than just writing no. Next is, why are you the best candidate for the scholarship? So again, this really ties into the other questions. So some of these questions are repeats, but what I would do is just package my answer a little bit differently and just use different phrases, but pretty much get across the same idea, which is I would be the best candidate for scholarship because I would be able to tell other Americans about it and make it more prevalent in America. I didn't know this when I applied, but there have actually only been 2 Americans before me that had gone on this trip, and one of them I learned from on YouTube. I'll put her ad here. But I didn't realize that it wasn't all that big in America. So when I said like, oh, I'll really be able to promote this to my audience that's based in the US, that really held true for them. So if you are based in the US, you can definitely say that. You can also look through their awardees from the previous years and see what other countries awardees have been given the scholarship from. And then you can kind of use it to tie into your application. So any country is able to apply. But again, you just have to tell them why you would be a great candidate for the scholarship. And please explain your health condition both physically and mentally. So in this question, they're really looking for whether or not you're physically able to go on all the tours. So all the tours are walking, and we also took the metro every single day to go to the different places that we were visiting. So you have to be in pretty decent shape. So you have to be able to walk for long periods of time, and mentally be willing to meet other people and wanting to interact with them. So a lot of the people that were on the trip, English wasn't their first language. So they were still learning English. They still want to be able to learn and interact with other people outside of their country. So you could say like mentally, I'm, really excited to meet other people and connect with community, especially meeting people from outside of the United States or outside of my country. But make sure you're in great physical health and also in great mental health to be able to be on this trip and be tentative and also participate in all the activities throughout the week. They really want people to participate fully throughout the entire week, so you can't show up late or leave early. You have to be present for the entire thing. So if you're someone who can't participate in things without their significant other or without their friend or without their parent, then this isn't going to be the program for you. They're really looking for people who can participate and be present and be independent while you are on this trip. Next question, any other things that we should know about you that we haven't covered in this application? So in this part, I actually talk about how I applied for this program previously. So the year before I was accepted, I had applied for the Seoul, South Korea trip, and I didn't get it. So in this part of the application, I wrote that I applied for the Korea trip, but I didn't get it. But I was really adamant about participating in the AYFN Academy because I really thought that it was a great program. And I also talked about how even though I had applied to South Korea in the last application round, I really wanted to go to Japan because it's been on my dream destination list for a very long time. So I did talk about that at this part of the application. You can talk about whatever you want here. I don't know, maybe you only have a certain amount of time to be able to travel, or maybe you are looking to be involved on the committee team and organizing or something. You can really put whatever you want in this application, but again, just make sure you explain your answer as to why you want to do these things or why it's important that they know about that before you participate in the trip. And then last but not least, you put in an emergency contact number, so someone that they can contact just in case anything happens. And then you also agree that everything that you wrote above is correct and accurate, and that you submitted your selection fee, and then it is also non-refundable. So that is the entire gist of the application, and those are my answers that I wrote in them. Again, if you need clarification, just rewatch the video because I'm sure I've answered all of your questions. Before I finish this video, I want to let you guys know that I am sharing this opportunity because it is something that I think other people would be interested in. I would never in any way share anything that would be dangerous or detrimental to anyone's health or to their physical well-being. I participate in this program myself, so I only promote things that I participated in before, and if this program doesn't align with you, that is totally fine, but keep in mind that it does align for other people. So please be respectful in the comments, and if you guys have any questions about what I did during the trip, go back and watch the vlogs. I already posted both of the vlogs. They're pretty long, but they give you a really great detailed description, and you can really see what you experience if you go on the Japan trip. So I hope you guys really find this helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.